silence, stillness, zero forgiveness. Out here in the untamed world, the end rarely comes with a warning. It lurks, it observes, it calculates. And when the window of opportunity opens, the blow lands before the brain can even register the threat. Hidden beneath dry, brittle foliage, sliding across sun-baked terrain, and hugging the eternal shadows. One of nature's most proficient assassins is priming itself for war. This isn't anarchy, this is discipline. Serpents don't just bank on raw power. They depend on a sense of timing honed by eons of evolutionary trial and error. Every coil of muscle is intentional. Every moment of stillness is a mathematical equation. In this domain, to hesitate is to die, and confidence is a currency purchased with flawless accuracy. Rising from the dust, a cobra ascends. Methodical. Intentional. The upper body levers into the air as though drawn up by some spectral string. The iconic hood flares out broad and undeniable. This is not a posture born of panic. It is a proclamation. A warning hardwired into the genetic code: back off. The atmosphere turns oppressive. The king cobra sways with a hypnotic rhythm, not scanning with eyes but tasting the reality surrounding it. A forked tongue darts out, sampling chemical signatures deposited mere moments ago. Tremors ripple through the soil, and the reptile detects every single one. Close by, something is alive, breathing heavy, tensing up. Then the world shifts into overdrive. An attack explodes from absolute calm. No preamble, no energy squandered. Fangs projectile forward, injecting a toxic cocktail designed to short-circuit the nervous system and hijack the victim's own body. Paralysis sets in rapidly. In the wild, efficiency is the only law. Mistakes are not an option. However, the wilderness is never the property of a single predator. A streak of motion disrupts the rhythm. Hugging the dirt, rapid, fearless. A mongoose steps into the kill zone, maneuvering just millimeters outside the radius of death. The serpent snaps into action, launching strike after strike. Every lunge falls short by a fraction. Every failure burns precious fuel. The mammal flirts with catastrophe, dodging a mere fraction of a heartbeat before contact. This is no coincidence. This is biology answering biology. Toxin meets resilience. Accuracy meets agility. The cobra engineered to rule now stares down a beast that refuses to bow. The dirt transforms into a lethal chessboard where a single play could conclude the game. One error in judgment, one falter, and the war is finished. Yet this skirmish is merely the prologue. If your pulse is climbing, keep your eyes glued to the screen. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and stick around, because the segment coming up takes the struggle for existence past the point of no return. The battle concludes, but the pursuit is eternal. Hunger is a patient master, and it has a long memory. As the vanquished hunter fades away, a fresh chance for a meal materializes without pity. A flicker of motion in the thicket, a spark of emerald against the ochre soil. The target has exposed itself, and the regulations of the game shift in a split second. There is no sentimentality here. No second guessing. Only reflexes sharpening into violence. The viper recalibrates, tongue flicking in rapid, distinctive pulses. Sight takes a back seat. The nose becomes the eyes. Every shudder, every quake in the bedrock paints a dynamic topography of flight and chase. Up ahead, a small critter scrambles, oblivious that every frantic hop lays down a chemical breadcrumb trail. Panic drives the pursuit. Terror unmasks the victim. The prey thinks it has found sanctuary, flattening itself against forest debris, holding its breath, praying that immobility equates to survival. But staying still is useless against a hunter that feels the earth vibrating. The coils tighten like a winding mechanism. Then, with zero preamble, the death blow launches. Contact is immediate. The struggle evaporates. A chase that lasted minutes is resolved in less time than a blink. Consumption is not messy. It is surgical. The mandibles distend past the limits of logic. Ligaments stretch and shift as the sustenance is worked down the gullet centimeter by centimeter. The killer respires even while swallowing, modifying its own physiology to survive the very act of staying alive. This is natural selection at its most brutal and sophisticated. But the bush never grants a long reprieve. As the final tremors of the meal subside, a new aroma wafts on the breeze. Another serpent. A competitor. This is no longer about a meal. This is about turf pecking order and sovereignty. The resident advances, with caution, knowing this meeting carries a much heavier price tag. Venom cannot be squandered. Every maneuver must be calculated. If you want to see how apex predators turn on their own brothers, and what occurs when toxin clashes with toxin, don't go anywhere. Tap the like, subscribe, and steel yourself. The next chapter unveils a showdown where backing down is off the table. The atmosphere thickens when hunter confronts hunter. This is no random meeting. Two vipers occupy the same soil, the same appetite, the same drive to rule. There is no space for sharing. One must break. One must collapse. The air hums with cautionary frequencies as torsos lever up from the dirt heads, poised muscles locked in a coiled standoff. Neither one fires the first shot, both pause weighing the price of a solitary blunder. The initial assault arrives silently. An abrupt explosion of speed, fangs glinting, bodies tangling in a violent knot. The poison is injected with accuracy, not rage. This isn't a reckless brawl. It is a tactical choice forged by evolution. One snake takes the hit, contorting its frame to mitigate the injury, scales grinding against scales as the grapple intensifies. Every second saps vitality. Every shift risks revealing a weak point. The momentum turns. One combatant starts to fade, reflexes lagging, muscles failing under the chemical siege. The champion doesn't hurry. It solidifies its grip, utilizing mass and torque to compel surrender. Staying alive here isn't just about brute force. It's about endurance, economy of motion, and recognizing the exact moment the war is already won. As the loser goes limp, the victor commences the rite that determines hierarchy in the reptile kingdom. Eating the enemy is the ultimate proof. Land is not claimed by markers or noise but by erasure. Another rival wiped from the map. Another memo that even among the most lethal, only one remains standing. Yet supremacy draws eyes. From the periphery of the zone, fresh dangers watch. Swifter. More hostile. A different breed of slayer draws near, one evolved specifically to defy the venom itself. The equilibrium is about to tip once more. If you want to witness how velocity and intellect crash into lethal toxicity, stay locked in. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and keep watching. The next encounter flips the script, turning the hunter into the prey. The dirt no longer belongs solely to the serpent. A new entity arrives on stage, hugging the ground, rapid, vigilant, and devoid of dread. This predator doesn't bank on poison or bulk. It banks on the clock. Eyes trace every minute, twitch of sinew, every tightening loop that telegraphs an incoming bite. This is a beast molded by generations of surviving what should have ended it. The reptile triggers immediately, firing forward with ballistic power. The jaws snap shut on nothing but atmosphere. The challenger pivots, weaves, and shuts the gap in a haze of motion. Dust clouds kick up as the combatants intersect repeatedly. Every trade-off more perilous than the one before. This isn't disorder. It's a lethal choreography. Bite, dodge, parry, withdraw. Neither player has the luxury of a fumble. The snake's edge lies in range and toxins, but poison is useless if it never makes contact. Exhaustion starts to seep in, delaying the fractions of a second that count more than power. The smaller aggressor crowds in, forcing mistakes, forcing overcommitment. One mistimed lunge alters the entire timeline. The challenger grabs the opening, clamps down, and refuses to let go. The conflict concludes not with a shriek but with silence. But seeing tomorrow is never a promise. Elsewhere, plating takes the place of velocity. A shelled guardian holds its ground against wave after wave of strikes. Fangs find no purchase. Persistence dissolves into fatigue, and eventually fleeing becomes the solitary choice. The wild teaches its most brutal curriculum again. Not every war can be won with violence. As the light dies, another raid commences from the heavens. Wings slice the atmosphere. Shadows drop like stones. The ground dweller detects the threat a moment too late. Aerial velocity meets terrestrial precision in a collision where gravity itself is weaponized. The power dynamic flips again, demonstrating that supremacy relies entirely on where the ambush starts. If you're still watching, you're looking at nature in its most unvarnished form. Stick with us. Like the video, subscribe right now, and brace yourself for the final segment where existence, authority, and reflex crash together one last time. The ultimate showdown doesn't spark with brutality but with discipline. Two titans rear up from the dust, towering high bodies, intertwined in a wrestling match rather than a massacre. This isn't a hunt. It is a ritual of rank. Muscle against muscle. Willpower against willpower. Every motion is precise, every heavy shove, a declaration of rule. Their lethal cocktail is held back not for kindness, but for mutual preservation. Just one slip in protocol here guarantees a double fatality. The duel stretches on until fatigue sets in and stability cracks. The submissive male finally collapses, flattened against the grit. The triumph is noiseless, definitive, and completely dry of blood. In the savage wild, staying alive often hinges on the wisdom to spare a rival. The victor withdraws, claiming nothing but the exclusive privilege to pass on his genes. High above the scrublands, a silhouette spans the horizon. A final darkness sweeps the terrain.